Yep, and we are back on.
Yeah, we missed a day, but we're back today.
Oh yeah, we missed a day, but so much has happened even in that little time that we've missed since we've been off. We didn't want to talk about the NBA in wholesale terms up until about Christmas time because typically that's when it really starts. But there's a lot. The NBA's back, man. I mean, how can you not talk
Yeah,
about it with all the new changes that are taking place over in the off season and the way teams are playing right now? I mean, come on, 81 more games to go. If you lost a game, 81 more games. If you won the game, 81 more games. But it's looking nice and it's good
right.
to have it back and seeing young players. The OKC team coming and doing what they've done. You got a chance to see Chet Holmgren. We talk about Wimby. We know what he's going through down in San Antonio, looking to lead the franchise. And then we look at the new look Celtics. How did they look on the road?
I think the NBA needs some respect for the early matchups they came up with. The matchups are good. The Nuggets Lakers had a storyline. Porzingis going back to the Garden. That's
Yep.
just another storyline. You got tonight the Bucks versus the 76ers. Maybe not a rivalry or a history, but uh, Embiid was MVP last year. Giannis a former MVP. Bucks debuting Damian Lillard. Philly telling Harden, keep your ass at home. No, you can't get on the plane with us. Get your ass out of here. Thank you for showing up to practice. We'll see when we come back to town. But I mean,
Unbelievable.
the NBA had nothing to do with that. But I'm just talking matchups. Suns and Warriors the other day. You know how I feel about the Warriors. I don't think they have enough size. They lost by 4 at home. The Suns didn't even have Bradley Beal. Booker was doing his thing. He looked like a point guard. People say they don't have a point guard. They might need it if Booker's going to play like that.
Yeah, and we know he could put up points. He's done that in the past. Unfortunately for him, when he's put up exorbitant amount of points, going over 70 points, they still lost in those games. I think that dynamic is completely over now. I think these Suns are probably the second best team in the West this year, just behind Denver. The way it looks like it's kind of turning out right now, well, not right now, too damn early, but on paper, they have the potential to be the number 2 team, if nothing else, number 3. Maybe a 3-team race in the West this year. Not a bad thing, but it's still the early going. But I know the Lakers played. Activation start. What? Jerry Curl's on real activation. The season started, man.
Well, the funny thing about the Lakers, man, and I tweeted this during the game, after the game. I posted on our Facebook page all summer long. They were
Yeah.
talking about, oh, they didn't appreciate Malone, what he said, trolling them. LeBron said anybody can get it, blah, blah, blah. You had you had this circled on the calendar, opening night, get your get back, and you have a double digit loss. And on top of that, Anthony Davis disappeared the entire second half.
Poof.
Come on, bro. You came out playing hard. I'm not gonna say you didn't play hard the second half. Misspoke. You came out balling, 17 points in the first half. What happened the second half? You got to finish. You got revenge on your mind, bro. Come on.
Yeah, then you look at Joker picking up where he left off last year, getting a
Triple
triple
double.
double out there already, man. I mean, and he's doing it slowly but surely. And he did it slowly last year, and we saw where it led to a championship. I mean, look, it's all way too early, but damn, you talk about mid-season form. This is what he was doing towards the end of the last season when there was a championship on the line.
Right. You know, I'm gonna bring up the Bears just because I say this all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't say it all the time, but we were expecting improvement from Fields, from the offense. Game one, they come out struggling. Game two, they come out struggling. Game three, they come out struggling. So my motto is same old Bears, same old Bears. So as far as the Lakers and the Nuggets are concerned, same old Nuggets, same old Lakers.
Yeah, but the Nuggets can take that same old Nuggets because it might lead to another
Yeah,
ring.
but for the Nuggets, it's a good thing. For the
Yeah,
Bears, not so much.
yeah,
Lakers, they got to either make some changes or they have to improve.
yeah. They're going to have to improve. How many more changes can they make? Every time you look around, people say LeBron is in charge. Well, if he really is in
Hey,
charge, he's a
half
bad
his team
GM.
is half his team has gotten traded in the past, so it's not beyond the realm of possibility if they don't get off to a good start. 5 or 6 of those guys might be in other locations.
And yeah, you continue to talk about the matchups that the NBA had in the early going, not just wait until the 3 games or 4 games on Christmas Day that they typically throw out there where the unofficial start of the NBA season starts. How about the Knicks and the new team, which are the Celtics, throwing things together with all of these players we talked about in the preseason and even leading up into the first game, how it's going to all kind of be contingent on what Porzingis does, not necessarily Chris Middleton. I'm not Chris Middleton. Drew Holiday, who just came from Milwaukee. Well, Porzingis trying to fit in. He gets 30 freaking points. He leads the team in scoring, and they still had to kind of struggle to beat the Knicks at Madison Square Garden. Still the first game of the season, but you can just say theoretically they can only go up from here. But we know in a long 82-game NBA season, ups and downs are what you're going to have. But obviously, this team is going to do a lot more going up than going down.
Yeah, and was it a case of Porzingis going back to New York,
That's my next question.
having more incentive? He dropped 30. He had a really good game. He supported Tatum, who had 34, I believe. And so Jaylen Brown didn't have the best shooting night, but it wasn't necessary. Drew Holiday, I think, only had 8 or 9. They didn't need him to score. He did his lunch pail type job.
Yeah,
playing defense and being tough out there. He got a late steal late in that game. I think the Knicks were trying to go up 4. Guy was coming down the lane and he stripped him. They went down the other way. I mean, that turned out to be a big play. So, Holiday's going to make his impact here and there, even if it doesn't show up in the box score.
Yeah, his presence alone, and he does have games, so it's not like you're just worried about what he does defensively, but he does bring that intangible that you can't see, which is the defense, which is the presence. Now he has that championship caliber playing for Milwaukee and getting the championship with them. But then the Knicks, you look at them, you see same old Knicks. Not necessarily. I mean, they were down in the game. They had a chance to win. They got ahead by 2, as you said. We're trying to go ahead by 4 until the move was made with Drew Holiday getting the steal when it mattered most in Madison Square Garden. Porzingis said he liked that the Garden crowd was going to give him F Porzingis. That's what they were saying, the chance. And he liked it, and he thrived in it. He proved them wrong again. But I don't see where the problem is with Porzingis that the Knicks fans have, because when he was there, it wasn't like he was doing dumb things. They didn't like that he didn't come out from injury as quick as he did. I think it was still that thing that happened with his brother behind the scenes that had him sent to Dallas. And then I don't know what it did down there, but in New York, that became somewhat of a story. And they're holding it against him. He never really said anything bad about New York, but I guess that's just the New York thing to do. If you're coming back and you're not an out team, F you.
Right. If you're not a Knick, then F you, right. But what was funny is I think they called 2 flopping technicals on back-to-back plays. I was surprised. I was watching the game, but I had it on split screen because I was watching the Bulls play OKC as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that game happened to be on commercial, so I moved the volume over, and I heard him say, "I think they're calling it flopping." I said, "What?" They showed the replay, and I can't even remember who it was. He did flop, and they got a technical. But then they went down the other side, and they called a flop on Brunson. I was like, "Oh no, they're gonna be calling flops every other play at this rate."
Hey, this is what we wanted, though. You wanted them to go and finally stick with the rule, or did they just do that to be a pace setter and see what happens as these people continue to do it? Or they may just know that they're serious about it and they stop flopping as much because they're not going to just stop, period.
So there is a little bit of a discussion on the broadcast because they were trying to say, well, is he flopping or is he selling? There's a difference between flopping and selling the call.
Mm-hmm.
And so many players are so conditioned to selling the call that it could be perceived as flopping. So I don't know. It's going to be interesting. I don't know if it was just those 2 refs. I didn't watch every NBA game, but I did watch the Nuggets and Lakers. I did watch a lot of the Warriors and Suns, and I didn't see no flopping calls in those games. So I don't know if it was just that crew or what.
Now, being up in your area, the Chicago area, did you watch the Bulls game? Did you get to see the OKC and see what they had to offer? Chet Holmgren doing his legitimate debut now as a rookie, going in his second year and stating that he missed last season because of injury. What did you see there?
So I watched until I couldn't watch anymore. Home game opening night, and they were down 21. I was like, that's it, I'm done. you got to show some heart, man. You got to show some toughness. I understand the OKC is a team on the rise,
Yeah,
but
a lot of young players.
a team with DeRozan, Levine, they should not be getting worked at home by 21 on opening night. I mean, come on, man. It was embarrassing. But the Bulls did have one highlight coming from old ass Andre Drummond. He dunked on Chet, and then he stole the ball and cooked him and dropped him. He went in for the layup. I actually posted a reel of that on our Facebook page. Welcome to the league, kid.
Yeah, I tell you what, Chet Holmgren has a lot to learn in the NBA. He is nothing but raw talent. I think he's a lot like Porzingis. He does, I think, may have a better three-pointer than Porzingis, more touch on the ball. But then talking about touch on the ball and new people coming into the league, Chet Holmgren being in his second year, which is officially his second year, but really his first year being injured last season. Wimba, everybody's looking at him and seeing how well he's going to do. You know, I don't think they expected him to be a superstar out of the box, but they just want to get a sign that says that this is not going to be a flop player. He didn't flop. First shot was a wet one. He drops a wet one, but then they're playing another Battle of Texas. What's up with these Battles of Texas going on in the NFL and, you know, well, not even in the NFL, but in baseball. Now you have it in the NBA. But then you look at, you know, he get his three-pointer. He plays pretty solidly. But Lucas still shows you that he's the veteran. He's a young guy in this game, too. He still wants to be the face of the NBA. And right now, another triple-double for another Euro play. What's going on with this?
I don't know. Luka's Luka. You know, he's a bad man. The Spurs came out strong. They had a lead early, but eventually the Mavericks overtook them. Luka was too much for them.
Yeah.
And basically ruined Wemby's debut. Wemby had, I think, 15 and 8. Not a bad start, you know, for 18-year-old or 19-year-old.
NBA, bro.
Huh?
So yeah, it's the NBA. There's no shame in that.
I mean, some people might be trying to throw shade. Oh, he only had 15. He's overrated. But that's because others have been calling him the best prospect in the history of the game.
Yeah.
I mean, that's hyperbole. And you can't expect him to come out and drop 40 and 15 and you know, get a triple-double his first night being 19 years old, playing, 30 games a year? They're talking about is he going to have a minutes restriction? How many games is he even going to play this year? You know how Pop is.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Pop is old school.
You don't want that kid to hit the wall in game 50 and be done for the rest of the year. So,
but I think the NBA now, because of the management with time rules, is going to allow teams to kind of naturally just not allow players to hit the wall. At least these young players come into the league, because now they can rest without having to force them to rest. It's something that's, well, it is forcing them to rest, but without them having to hit the wall that they've hit in the past, even when they're going into somewhat of a groove. But I think, you know, Luka being how he is, I'm looking at his turnovers. He had 4 last night. You know, we look at, he was a turnover machine like Russell Westbrook years ago, but he's kind of cutting that down. We don't know over the long term, but it looks like he's in better shape this year, not the chubby guy he was last year. I think they talked about that a little bit in the off season about his weight. And right now, so far showing up, we know that there's so much more time to go. So many things can happen. You can get even bored with your success, eat a whole lot more, and it slows down your game. But hey, you know, Dallas gets their win out of it. Wemby looks solid going out there doing the same thing. Another player we talked about already, Chet Holmgren looking good. But then the Orlando Magic, they win the first game of the season for a change, man. They've been in the toilet for a long time, but they were ascending a bit last season. Not huge leaps and bounds, but enough. You know, they got rid of Mo Bamba, who was solid for them at one point. No, actually, he wasn't. There was one good game against Philly when him and Embiid went at it. But yeah, he's bounced around. Now he's actually in Philly after going to the Lakers mess right there. But Cole Anthony trying to celebrate that new 3-year extension that he got for, I believe, $36 million. He goes out there and puts up some points. And even though they're bringing in all these point guards, sounding like they want to get rid of him, he's showing that he belongs, or at least making his trade value better.
Yeah, I didn't pay much attention to the Magic. I was watching the Pelicans. Zion was looking good last night.
Good.
Yeah. He looked athletic, not quite as athletic as when he was at Duke or when he first came into the league, but he was dunking on people, catching alley-oops. He had 20-some points, I think 8 rebounds, and had a few steals. And when he's healthy playing, the Pelicans win.
Oh, no question about that. I mean, his talent isn't the question. Isn't his talent?
It's
It's
his
his
health.
dedication. It's his injuries, and I don't know if the injuries are coming because of his lack of dedication. Some people may want you to believe that he's getting injured because he's not really putting in 100% effort. No, that 100% effort he's putting in on these dunks and that outrageous athleticism is the his weight coming down on those knees that becomes the issue. If he could continue to just kind of keep his weight steady and still be able to leap through the sky and add more facets to his game, well, he's going to be that phenomenal talent. It's not like he's a bust like Greg Oden was a bust, even though it was the wrist. Outside of the wrist, he didn't show anything else when he came. I just thought about it last night. They took him over Kevin Durant, man. Greg Oden went number one, Durant went number
Bad
two.
move.
Number that.
Portland has a bad history at the top of the draft. But getting back to the Pelicans, Zion, CJ, and Brandon Ingram, that's a pretty formidable three. I'm not going to say it's a big three, but it's a formidable three.
Yeah, it's a nice young core. And now, we have to talk about a little bit the Memphis Grizzlies now without Ja Morant, and they lose. Desmond Bane has to try to do something there, but obviously not enough. And until
they lost Steven Adams too.
Yeah, Steven Adams, out for the season with the knee injury. And Derrick Rose, do you really expect him to do anything? I mean, he's brought in not to be a babysitter like he says, but he is brought in that mentor role, and you're going to try to get as much as you can get out of him in the 25 games that Ja's going to be out. And apparently that's not going to be enough to even break 500 by the time Ja does get back, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be 500 either, missing 2 out of your 5 starters.
Jeez.
But they're going to have to tread water until Ja gets back, right?
Yeah. And, 25 games, counting down, 24. And is he even allowed to practice with the team, or he's not allowed in the facility, or what? I don't even know what the design on him being there or not being there is.
That's a good question. I don't know.
And guess who's not sneaking?
I have to Google that.
Yeah. And guess who's not sneaking up on anybody this year? Those damn Sacramento Kings. They're not sneaking up on people this year. But they don't need to sneak up on anybody. They're there, and they're still a solid team looking to become even better. Right. I don't think they're a threat to the top people in the West, the top teams in the West, but I think they can be a little bit interesting, even more interesting than what even Miami was last year in the East.
Yeah, we have to see if they can take that step up, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're another young team. They made some noise last year, but Steph dropped 50 on them in Game 7. But that was a monumental effort that Steph had to put forth to bounce them, right? So if they improve this year, it's going to take even a stronger effort from the whole team, not just one guy. So, are they with the Nuggets? Are they with the Suns? I would say no, but do we even know if the Suns are with the Nuggets yet?
Yeah,
it's all talent, but they've only played one game. And they have a lot of talent, but Beal has a back issue. Booker's not playing tonight. They'll probably lose to the Lakers. So I question if it's really a 2-team race, and not the Nuggets versus the field.
And right now, I think Vegas does have the Lakers winning this game tonight. I mean, Vegas has been wrong quite a bit this season in other sports, basketball. Starting up, get your teeth wet with that one or teeth cut on that one. So we didn't even get a chance to talk about who we thought was going to win and all this and that in the West and the East and all that. But I don't even think we have to do that because the season's so long. So many things are going to happen. So many variables.
I say I got the Nuggets and the Celtics.
Yeah, that's the only thing I could go with. The Nuggets and Celtics. It seems like a cookie cutter prediction. But I know everybody jumped up, including Vegas, with the future bets when Dame came to Milwaukee. But we look at the Celtics followed pretty much right away, and even though Milwaukee didn't lose their spot in the futures bets, the Celtics did jump up a little bit more. But I think just across the board, I'm not looking for Porzingis to do this every night, and I still think a lot like what you said. It was probably more getting back at the Garden, your former team, and going out with that energy. But guess what, Porzingis had a lot of those kinds of games in the past where he's gotten 30 points, 25 points. I can see him being a 19, 20-point a game player, but for this Celtics team, for everyone to flourish, he can do the 15 to 19 or 14 to 19-point deal.
Right.
They can still have the same measure of success.
And it could be where where they take turns, right? Tatum and Porzingis were on last night. Brown not so much. Maybe
Yeah.
Brown's got the hot hand in game two, and he drops 30, and Porzingis only drops 14. I'm sure they're going to, no one's going to be hot every night.
Nah. And I hope that
So they're going to have to take turns. Drew Holiday may have a 25-point night.
he's capable of that as well. And I hope that it doesn't come down to this maniacal nonsense that happened down in Dallas when it was with Porzingis and Luka, when he was saying, I thought we were supposed to be 1A and 1B. Nah, he's supposed to be Batman. You were supposed to be Robin. He doesn't want to accept himself as Robin. He's like, I thought it was 1A, 1B. I don't feel like I'm part of the team. You are part of the team. Batman and Robin are a team. That's the point. You didn't want to be Robin, though. So I hope when all of these guys up there, but I think there's more than one guy who can carry the load up there. He happened to be another one of those guys that can help carry the load. So maybe it doesn't get to that point, but since it's already happened in the past, well, now it's out the bag. Could it happen in the future? But I'm hoping it doesn't. And even though I don't like the Celtics, don't want the Celtics to win, but for the sake of just having great games and a great team, if they can come together and become one, let everything kind of go smooth, or at least according to plan. Have your issues inside the locker room. Don't let them show in the court.
And plus, with Porzingis being a consistent outside shooter, he's going to open up the floor for Tatum and Brown and Holiday. Horford would hit threes here and there, but you were willing to live and die with Horford. Like you're gonna pick somebody to beat you. You're gonna pick Horford over Tatum and Brown, right? But now Porzingis, he's gonna make you pay if you leave him open.
Damn sure he is.
And he definitely shoots way better than Robert Williams. He's not the defender Williams is, but he can still block shots. He's what, 7'2"?
12 shots yesterday.
Yeah. He's what, 7'2"? How
Yeah,
7'1"? How tall is he?
3.
And yeah, and even if he doesn't block it, he can affect your shot. He can make you change your shot. So I may have overrated losing Williams.
Yeah.
But it's up to Porzingis to be that defensive presence also.
With consistency.
Mm-hmm.
Yo, let's talk about something that we talked about off the air. I think it was yesterday or the day. It must have been the day before yesterday when you were talking about what's going on in the West with the Golden State Warriors and Klay Thompson and his aim. What's up with that?
I think we were on the phone.
Okay, we was on the phone with that when you were talking. It was yesterday then. When we talked about his aim, it's not even just the legs because that's where the injury came from. And you think when a shooter doesn't do well, it's the legs, and it's easy to believe that. But you're talking about, bro, it's not falling short. It's just not hitting where it's going.
Well, there was one wide open three he had, and he hit the side of the rim that bounced off the backboard. It was from the left angle, and not the corner, but at an angle. And I'm like, wow, that's a really bad shot for a great shooter. Usually, great shooters, it's either going to be long or it's going to be short, maybe a little bit left, maybe a little bit right. But the side of the rim, great shooters don't do that. Not on open threes. Nah. Yeah, if it's contested or you're throwing it up at the end of the game trying to get a shot off, yeah, anybody can put up a brick. But a wide open brick for Klay Thompson, that was alarming to me. So, because you asked me, is it his legs? Has he recovered from his injury?
Yeah.
I don't know if he's fully 100% coming back from his injury. But I know missing like that, it's not your legs. You don't hit the side of the rim. You hit the front of the rim if it's your legs.
Well, there we go with the NBA. It's nice to see that the NBA is back. We necessarily weren't going to talk about the NBA all the time because in the early going, there really isn't much to talk about. But because of all that has happened in the offseason, I mean, all the moves made, and then you look at the draft and the types of players that are coming to the draft, it's nice to look at these players. And, the Porzingis deal from that standpoint, and even looking at Chet Holmgren with his debut as a rookie in his second year, kind of like Blake Griffin years ago when he got injured and then came back for his rookie year the following season after missing a whole season. But we'll get more than enough time over the season to talk about some basketball way before even Christmas to do it. So let's close the door on that basketball. Now, yeah, it's got basketball. You got to bounce. Got to have a little basketball.
Oh man, you could have played Cheech and Chong Basketball Jones.
Yeah, you know what? I didn't even think about that. See, you need to come up with these things so we can just throw them out there.
Well, you can ask me. I'll give you ideas.
I didn't. My bad on that one. I mean, you're the basketball connoisseur, basketball maven. Let's throw it out there. let
And
you do
that's you saying that. I'm not saying that.
well, you know what? I mean, we both know basketball, but it's obviously your wheelhouse, even though there's people out there, I don't want to call them clowns, but people out there who claim that, it's not your forte because they try to be condescending
Oh,
to clowns.
hey, everybody has their haters, man.
Yeah, exactly. So it's not just limited to just here. They're going everywhere to do it. They'll show up and spread the hate. But
We
anyway,
got football tonight.
yeah, the new week of football. I think this is week number 8. Thursday night football kicks it off, and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are going to Buffalo to take on the Bills. I don't know what to think of this Bills team now at 4-3. When I thought that once they got their winning together, it'll just continue and may have a hiccup here and there. Too many
Right.
hiccups now, 3 of them. So 4-3
Yeah,
taking on this Tampa team, they should win. Baker Mayfield I thought would be doing something special this year. Maybe not.
I was on Twitter earlier and I saw the matchup. It's just a photo of the two helmets saying who you got tonight. And I started thinking it's easy to pick the Bills, but when you think about it, and you alluded to it, they're inconsistent.
Very.
So, which Bills team shows up? Which Josh Allen team shows up? Does does he hook up with his receivers like they want to? Do they run the ball like they should? Does the defense show up? I would think under the lights that they're gonna be at their best, as you would think anyway.
Mm-hmm.
On a short week, I don't know who has the advantage. I would guess the defense. Um,
Defense typically does, yeah.
so
Offense
and
like to all that timing down.
Baker Mayfield not being a top echelon quarterback, the
Nope.
Bills have the advantage there. But stranger things have happened. But I'll pick the Bills.
Now, as far as the Bills, I'm going with the Bills too. But as far as the Bills, you see now that they win the game that they're supposed to win. Sometimes they lose the game that they're supposed to win. They ended up 4-3 right now. When 7 games in, going into the 8th game, you expected their record to be better. I guess the majority would have thought so by now. Do you think we can go back to what we were talking about when there was mini camps and all of this nonsense with Stephon Diggs? Is that a cancer in the locker room? It's not being said too much now, but could that still be something manifesting itself inside the locker room to where you're having these problems?
Yeah, it looked like it was a non-issue, right?
Yeah,
After they beat the Dolphins, I mean, beat them down really.
good. Yeah,
And Diggs was getting his catches and his yards and his touchdowns. It seemed like a non-issue, but something's going on. Um, Maybe they were trying to fight the Madden curse, and the Madden curse is not having it. I don't know.
the man at Kurt don't care who you are. It's going to sit on you and make something happen. It's something you typically don't like. But I'm still going to sit a little bit on their Stephon Diggs things because, as you said, when they're winning, everyone has a reason to be happy. There's a reason for things to not be as bad as they once were. But then when you get those losses that you probably shouldn't have, or the ones you had opportunities to win and you blew it, even the Jaguar game where they had an opportunity to win, even though they came and had to adjust in just 50 hours as opposed to the Jaguars being in the UK for 2 weeks, before they played them and being used to being out there and acclimated. So maybe the loss that came from that and the loss that came otherwise is something that just, that kills the locker room, or someone's complaining about how they don't fit in the offense anymore. Ironic how Stephon Diggs didn't fit in the offense during the offseason, and he was upset with that and made a lot of noise because of it. But when they're winning and he's getting his yards, well, he just mysteriously fits into the offense. When they're losing, I don't fit in the offense anymore. What's going on?
But you bring up a good point. It could be the London effect. You know, they won't be the first team that is playing well, go to London, come back, and go on a losing streak. I've seen it happen
That's true.
before. Happened to the Bears. It happened to the Ravens a few years ago. It happens. Some teams just do not recover from coming back from London.
And that's true. I mean, the time zones, everything that changes, the body dynamic, well, going in the plane, just being on the plane that long in the air, the altitude, the body changes that happen just being up there. You ever took a basketball
You
or a
lose a
football
day and then you get it back.
and you get it back there? The jet lag shouldn't be an issue, but I'm thinking that even the body chemistry deal. I mean, if you've taken a basketball or a football on an airplane before, you see how it deflates when you're up there like 39,000 feet. It just completely deflates. I had a football years ago when I went to the NFL draft, and the thing was soggy, and I was like, what the heck? And I thought about oh, okay, cabin pressure, all that stuff. And then it just gets filled back up when you're about to land. And so, yeah, your body does a lot of that too. You just don't blow up like a football and get sucked in like a football. With organs and everything in there going on. But anyway, week 8 has started. The Buffalo Bills are taking on Tampa Bay tonight. But then we have the weekend coming. And now I don't even know who's the most dominant or who I would say is the best team in the NFL right now. I think it might be more, the more things change, the more they stay the same. Kansas City might be number 1 again.
Yeah, I mentioned it the other day. Lo and behold, everyone's talking about the Eagles, the 49ers. Cowboys were getting a lot of attention. And then after week 7, the Chiefs are 6-1. They have the best record in the league, along with the Eagles. But it was, to me, it was more almost an aberration that they lost to the Lions. The Lions should have won, scored 14 points. And I know I've said it before, but it's true. That pick six that went through the wide receiver's hands should never have been a pick six. She should be undefeated right now. And yes, the Lions are overrated.
And now the Lions look like they may be heading into that overrated group. As long as they can try to prove something different this week. I think they're playing the Raiders on Monday night this week. So they have a chance to get back on the winning track. Likely, I don't think Garoppolo is playing. He's still having his back issues. So the Lions have an opportunity, even on the road, to win against the Las Vegas Raiders on Monday night. But another team that we thought once upon a time that might have been among the best teams in the NFL, they put up a boatload of points, we know, the Miami Dolphins. But when we broke it down, the teams they've beaten have won about 2 games, and the only team that didn't win 2 games or more or less was, 2 games, was Carolina, who's won none. So now the Miami Dolphins have you thinking about something. They're going to New England, another sub-500 team. So I figured, Miami gets another win.
It seems that way. The other night I mentioned we can't call this year's Alabama team front runners, but it looks like we can call the Dolphins front runners.
Oh, absolutely. Front runners against bad teams because they're never in front against the good ones. So,
right. And, they didn't respond when the Bills had the lead on them, and they didn't respond last week.
And Tyreek Hill not putting up the fantastic numbers, still putting up very good numbers for a wide receiver, even in today's NFL. I think he had 88 yards last game, but, he was just 186 yards away from that 1,000 yards in just 7 games. Now we're going into 6 games, I believe. Now we're going into the 8th game now, so where he can try to get that number, but it's possible now against this New England team who's not played well at all. Mac Jones is on a hot seat. Bill Belichick is not on the hot seat.
They're on a 1-game winning streak, though. They beat the Bills.
Yeah, and they beat the Bills. That's what I'm thinking. Is this the turning point now, or was it just one of those AFC East deals to where the rivalry made it a lot more competitive than it should have made it? I don't think so. I think that anytime you have Bill Belichick, I think you have an opportunity to do something with your team, especially on the defensive side. Yeah, I believe truly that Tom Brady is the reason for the season and the rings, not necessarily Bill Belichick. We see that Tom's won without him. Bill still has not gotten rings without Tom. But he can still be in the mix, and especially in the AFC East, the issues that have happened there.
I don't know. I just got to say Belichick's not in the GOAT coach conversation. He can't be, because his team sucked before Brady and they suck after Brady. So there's no way you can convince me he's a great coach.
I'm still going to call him a great coach. I mean, yeah, the rings are there.
Even in New York, he had Lawrence Taylor, Carl Banks,
absolutely,
and Harry Carson, and all those guys. Pepper Johnson. Come on,
man. Yeah, he had the team, and that's why he's my guy. Regardless, I'm a Jets fan, but I've been a Parcells fan just as much.
I'm saying even the average defensive coordinator could have been successful with that crew.
Well, he came with Lawrence Taylor from the very beginning, or close to the very beginning, because in the beginning it was Bill Parcells, the defensive coordinator, and Ray Perkins, the head coach. And then Perkins got fired, blah, blah, blah. Parcells get the job. Belichick is elevated. And, you could win with Lawrence Taylor, and then Carl Banks, then Pepper Johnson, then Gary Reasons. He just keep adding them. Even the old school George Martin, Harry Carson on that team. That defense.
And their linebackers are so good, I can't even remember their linemen right now, or their D-backs.
What, the Giants?
Yeah.
From back then?
Yeah, I'm saying that's how great their
Oh yeah,
linebackers
the
were. I can't
linebackers.
remember anybody else on that defense right now,
Well, that
but
defensive
I know they
tackle,
had good players.
yeah, the linebacker, because of that 3-4 defense and Lawrence Taylor just being the maniac he was, and Pepper Johnson being in the middle, one of those inside linebackers when he got the opportunity. Even Gary Reasons wasn't a starter, but then he came in
Man,
situationally, did well when he was in there. Hell, I remember the hit on Bobby Humphreys against Denver at the goal line. That just lit it up. But anyway, then you had
we
Eric Howard was one of the defensive linemen. Leonard Marshall was one of those linemen, and then Eric Dorsey, the Incredible Hulk from back in the day, came from Notre Dame, second round draft pick. Boom, played with the Giants. Did okay. Didn't play as good as his body looked, but he was a solid. You didn't need to do much when you knew you had those linebackers out there. But anyway,
we might need a third guy off to the side to help us out when we can't remember certain players. Or earlier when I said we should Google that, we need
yeah,
somebody on the side to be our Google.
our crack staff member. Yeah, we need one of those stat
Taking
boys.
applications, hit us up.
Yeah, get the stat boys, man. Get a stat boy out here. Anyway, and it shows you how much we just kind of come out here and have the conversation, man. We bullet point some
Yeah,
things.
I mean, if we had a production meeting an hour before the show,
That'll
we
be a
would
whole
have all
other
this
world.
information. We're like, well, let me look that up. But we just go pretty much off the top of
Exactly.
the head.
The irony is, when I did do radio, I didn't have production meetings. I used to walk into the studio literally when the intro was playing. We had like a 30-second intro. While the intro was playing, I would come in, and the guy that was doing the show with me, he would just know that, you know what, I know what's up. And so as he goes out there, we just flow. And that was it. It was cool that way, that tightrope act. But hey, that was cool. But then again, another team that we thought was good, coming back to week 8 of the NFL, Brock Purdy, who I was calling Josh Purdy the other day. What the heck was going on there? Brock Purdy, man. What's going on with this guy? Now people are trying to act like he's not really that good after all. Man, things happen in the NFL. There's been times with other quarterbacks when they were making their way through in their second year or third year, were having issues, but still turning out to be even solid or better quarterbacks. He's having his issues. Concussion protocol. He's having his problems, and he has injured players. Christian McCaffrey isn't 100%. George Kittle's the only one who's probably close to 100% on offense.
Yeah, but he had 2 interceptions, but he was 21 of 30. He had 270 some yards. How poorly is he actually playing? And he's playing concussed. Let's give him a pass for that week. Let's see what happens when he comes back healthy.
Exactly. I'm thinking the same thing, man.
I mean, it's not like he was 12 for 32 with 102 yards. He was 21 to 30.
That was the previous week when he was throwing like crap. But I tell you, I think he's a solid quarterback. I'm not going to call him great until he starts doing more great things, but he's on a better trajectory than a lot of first rounders who've been in the league 2 or 3 years, and he's already shown that he belongs, and let him get back. And with the NFL being what it is, putting concussed players out there, not saying much until there's an investigation. We saw what happened with Tua just 2 seasons ago. This thing can't happen in the NFL. But you know what?
I want to make a suggestion to our viewers and our listeners. Before you call a quarterback trash, look up Chase Daniel on YouTube. See if he has a video breaking down his that whatever player you're thinking of, if he's breaking down that guy's film, because he does an incredible job breaking it down and explaining things to you. He'll show you the plays from different angles. He'll show you what the routes are supposed to be, the progression. He'll tell you 1, 2, 3, blah, blah, blah. And then you can see if a quarterback is actually trash or if there are other things going on. There's a video for Brock Purdy. I watched one for Tyson Bagent yesterday. And not to get back to the Bears, but Tyson Bagent is a story. And Chase Daniel said he loved what he saw. He goes through his progressions quickly. That's why he's able to get rid of the ball. And he gave him flying colors. He basically said he didn't make any mistakes. So
you saw the whole video now, not just the piece that you said you saw the other day. You saw the whole video.
Yeah, because you sent the link to start the show. I had just started it. I was only 2 minutes in, and he was talking about the formation, 2 by 2, and what the defense was showing. And then I saw you sent the link. I was like, oh, well, let me shut this off. After the show, I watched it. Anyway.
Yeah. There's always going to be these armchair types, whether it's going
to. Yeah, but if you see a quarterback throwing in the coverage all the time, well, that's automatic. He's making poor decisions.
Yeah, Zach Wilson. Let him break down Zach Wilson. That'll be the first time he's like, yo, bro, this guy ain't that good, man. Let's move on to the next tape. That's what he'll just say. He might even have his own beep
But
sound
it's
effect.
just 1 week for Bajent. The Raiders hadn't seen him before. There was no film to watch.
That's another thing.
San Diego has a whole game to watch, and Khalil Mack's on the other side playing against his former team.
Yeah, he will be
Oh
showing it.
man, I hope they have a plan to block him.
Yeah, most times they don't, or anyone else for that matters. He hasn't been doing what he's done in the past, but he's still formidable as hell when he gets
And
his
it's a night
opportunity.
game. It's a night game too. So
All right,
the lights
bet.
are going to be on. Mac's going to try and make an impact. I already know.
All right, let's hope and see. Well, let's see if he can make that impact because now going back to the Josh Purdy deal, concussion protocol,
Brock,
and now Sam Donald.
Brock.
Josh, oh my God. Wow. What's the deal with this? Who am I even thinking about?
Who is Josh Purdy?
I don't know, man. Look at this. I got this Josh thing in my mind. Joshing, I guess, man. What's up with that? Brock freaking Purdy, concussion protocol for the San Francisco 49ers. Unbelievable. Sam Darnold will be taking over. We've already known his story coming from USC, going to the Jets, going to Carolina. Now he's in San Francisco. Back in California, at least. Maybe he feels a little better there. But he's going against the Bengals, and the Bengals are now starting to churn it up. Not turn it up, churn it up. And I think now with the bye week going by, I think Joe Burrow is getting another week healthy without having to have all the tension of being behind center. He's getting real rest, and I'm sure the team of medical professionals getting him back ready to play, giving him the tune-up he needs to now go down the stretch they come until the playoffs if they get there.
Right. And I called it, right? That's my team to go to the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
I said a few weeks ago that teams better take advantage now because
when it wasn't looking so good.
At some point, Burrow's going to get healthy and they're going to make a run. And it looks like it started before even I expected it. They're on a 2-game winning streak, but they're looking much better. Burrow's looking much better. So watch out, NFL.
So they're going back on the road for this game. They'll be playing in San Francisco, I believe. But San Francisco's offense seems to be a problem with all the injuries now going on with the quarterback position. Deebo Samuel out, Christian McCaffrey not being 100%. It's the defense, though, that we thought would carry them to wherever they were going anyway. Defense wins championships, and going by the design of the defense, the names on that defensive line in particular, led by Nick Bosa, we thought that this would be a very formidable defense, which it was, but they didn't get a sack last game. Now we're going to see if Joe Burrow is showing signs of being the old Joe Burrow. What does he do against his defense? If he does well against his defense, I think Cincinnati is now back in the driver's seat.
But what is this defense going to do against Burrow and Higgins and Jamar Chase and those guys? Because giving up 22 points to the Vikings, that should not have happened. If you have one of the top 2 or 3 defenses in the league, they should have been able to shut down the Vikings. They should have won that game, in my opinion.
And that's probably true. But going on the road, coming from California, going to Minnesota, only 2 time zones, not like on the West Coast, the East Coast, when there's 3, and then playing against a team that you really can't get up for. I understand they're paid to get up for every team they play, but these are the Minnesota Vikings who aren't playing well. And even though,
but if you're Nick Bosa,
he just gets after me.
Nick Bosa, dude, you're supposed to be wreaking havoc in that backfield.
And no one got a sack. No one got a sack in that game. Even Javon Hargraves had his thing going on in the middle. He hasn't done anything now in the past 2 games. But I think that being at home, a little familiarity, and I know the defense is going to hold the fort, and they're going to know that the offense is a little shorthanded, so they may put a little bit more effort out there. I mean, they're paid to put a whole bunch of effort all the time. But, yeah, I can see, Kirk Cousins, for all intents and purposes, if you're just looking at the numbers game, going into the last game, he was 14 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. He's putting up the numbers. It's just not translating into wins, or at least a lot of wins. But he did get a win now against his 49ers team, and it's still win against his defense. And I think it was more of what he did against that defense than what they did against the offense, what the offense did against Minnesota, with having all the injuries. But nevertheless, I think it's going to really show where Joe Burrow is on the road playing against the San Francisco team with that defense and home crowd behind them. If he aces them, well, I think now it becomes a 2-man battle in the AFC North between Baltimore and Cincinnati, because I still don't think that Kenny Pickett is doing enough to do anything with the Steelers, and we don't know what the heck is
up with Deshaun Watson, man.
I'm about to say, we don't know what the heck is going on with Deshaun Watson now. PJ Walker coming back in again, and even though Coach did say it was my own choice to take Deshaun Watson out last game. Apparently not. He's injured. Something's wrong.
Right, but what is the issue?
The shoulder. I think it was that shoulder issue that he had, and apparently it's not doing well. But why
You
did he
would think with
that?
all those massages he gets, his shoulder would feel fine.
But this one didn't end with that happy ending as the other ones have. This massage is not working out for him, but it's giving PJ Walker some opportunities.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on in Cleveland, man. Their defense was supposed to be tough, and then last week it wasn't tough at all. I don't know. Their quarterback doesn't want to play or can't play.
But look at all that money they gave him.
It seems like there's a lot of chaos in Cleveland right now.
That's a lot of guaranteed money he's getting to play there in Cleveland. Guess whose fault it is? It has to be nothing but Cleveland's fault. Because when they first gave him the money, with all of those allegations out there swirling around, there wasn't anything definitive. And it made me believe they had some type of inside scoop to give that kind of money, guaranteed, every cent. Not a signing bonus, every cent is guaranteed to this guy with those types of allegations hanging. I was like, yeah, they know the judge, they know the lawyer, they know somebody that's giving them more of a definitive answer than the general public has. But either way, Deshaun Watson misses another game. They claim, well, we took him out just as a precaution. You're not putting him back in for the next game. You're doing more than a precaution.
Something's going on.
Much more something. Yeah, exactly. Something going on. And we'll find out how this Cleveland team can hold up, because that defense is still pretty doggone good, except for last week when they gave up all those yards. But yeah, man, the NFL.
It's like just when we give teams props, like, oh man, that defense is playing tough, or this guy's playing tough. They don't play tough. What happened?
Yep, the next week they just flop like, yeah, so, man.
We gotta stop giving props. We must be the jinx.
Yeah, you know what? If I'm gonna do that, Alabama has an excellent defense. Excellent, the best I've ever seen.
Georgia's defense is even better.
Yeah, right? Shoot, man. We'll get a chance to talk about them in a
minute. So is Michigan's. Michigan's might be the best I ever saw.
Yeah, from the
Ohio State is right there as well.
Man, Michigan's defense is playing solidly, but now we might have a reason why that might happen. But anyways, but a couple.
Yeah, did you see the latest report? They had supposedly they had a travel budget for that dude. There's computer and possible video evidence.
I heard about the evidence part of
but they had a travel budget, and Harbaugh's saying he didn't know nothing about it.
Bro.
You know what? Even if he didn't, lack of institutional control. Your ass, they got your ass, bro.
A lot of programs got hit with that before. It shouldn't be any different now.
If you didn't know, you should have known.
And with him having an eye on that possibly Chicago Bears job, hey, do a little Pete Carroll action. It may be time to exit stage left or whatever you're going. And so, hey, it may work out for him. I mean, in that way, it would be bad for the program, because once he leaves, a lot of the kids are still going to get punished if he leaves and they decide they sanction him or do whatever they're going to do. Death penalty, that's not happening anymore ever since SMU. No. Some teams I thought deserved it in some cases.
Stealing signs too, is that even death penalty worthy?
I guess when you have NIL, there's no such thing, in my opinion, as integrity of the game anymore. So when you have NIL and transfer portal, people just leave them just because, over 2,000-3,000 people are entering the transfer portal, and all these millions of dollars now going to players. Integrity, what are we talking about anymore? I mean, seriously. But, going back to the NFL, we do have I was trying to name some of the big games, and I do believe that Bengals game against the 49ers is a big game, specifically because it shows where Joe Burrow will come back if he does anything successful in that game and actually even wins. But the Jaguars and the Steelers, I still think the Kenny Pickett factor is the reason why the Jaguars are a favorite in Pittsburgh. Kenny Pickett hasn't played well or hasn't shown the progress I thought he would show. The defense playing very well right now. And even with the Jaguars not having Trevor Lawrence throw for 300-plus yards on a consistent basis only one time, but he also had just one touchdown when he did it against the Bills, they're still winning and scoring a whole bunch of points.
So we've been waiting for Trevor Lawrence to have that breakout game, right? I'm just go ahead and say it. He's not going to have a breakout game.
Wow. I'm not going to expect one against the Steelers. Not on the road.
On Monday, we'll be talking about how he threw for 375 yards.
Exactly. You know what? It's probably the other way with Jigs and, that team has a great defense. Well, the Jaguars offense just isn't doing the job. Now they're going to throw a 70 spot up in Pittsburgh. And we'll see Mike Tomlin getting out of it.
I highly doubt it. Maybe 40.
Yeah,
if they really get rolling, but 70, I don't know, man. Like
and they have the
the
weapons to
Steelers
do
would
it.
have to like actually not try to. I still don't know how Denver gave up 70.
I don't know. Every update was like 2 touchdowns. It wasn't even enough to have just 1 touchdown in the update. Newsflash: 2 touchdowns were scored.
They're
They
so
never scored.
consistent. They scored 35 the first half, 35 the second half.
Man, a
At
half off
what
step.
point did they call off the dogs?
I thought they did call off the dogs. They just ran
Right,
the
and they still
ball.
scored 35 the
I was
second
about to
half.
say they called off the dogs. They didn't throw the ball as much, and the running backs had 4 touchdowns apiece. I mean, what are you gonna do? Yeah, it's insane back there. But I think the Jaguars are going to continue their winning ways against Pittsburgh because I still don't believe in Kenny Pickett. Now, if Kenny Pickett can pick up his production and shows that he's made the moves as an NFL quarterback in his second year, I think that then it'll be more interesting. But Trevor Lawrence, 215 yards, 196 yards, 180 something yards, something like that, but still winning, dropping 30, 35, 36. Man, that's just a hell of an anomaly to me. But I'll take it.
Yeah, it
If
is.
you're a Jaguar fan, you take it. But and
Yeah,
then,
they've been winning in spite of him not having big games. And you would think that he would have to be the catalyst to them winning.
yeah, and then the game he probably throws 400 yards would be the game they lose. 400 yards, 4 touchdowns. It's a shootout. They lose. What's going on? This is what we're talking about. But it's a road game for them. And the reason why it's a road game is because here in Jacksonville, Georgia and Florida are playing in the world's largest cocktail party for their annual rivalry. Georgia, the number one team in the country. Florida, just another team. They're coming in and they're playing. But I'll tell you what, Georgia's a 14-point favorite in this game. But the rivalry, I always look at rivalries, and sometimes you're wrong. I guess most times you can be wrong. But man, I'm still not sold on Carson Beck, even though he's coming back to his hometown. He played at Mandarin High School. I saw him win a state championship here. Watched him in high school just as much as I watched Mac Jones when he was in high school. And he's coming back here to play in front of the home crowd as the starter of the Georgia Bulldogs. They just have not looked great to me. But more importantly, Brock is not there. I mean, he's gone. Brock Bowers, the tight end, he's gone for now with the high ankle sprain. Had surgery, will be out for weeks. Lad McConkey's back, who I was waiting for. He came back a couple of games before, but they're good in unison. I mean, they're good when they're together as a tandem. They're not good when it's just one or the other. At least someone that Carson Beck can rely on. They just can't do it. The running game, I think, with Florida's run defense, they're on and off, inconsistent. But for this game, take the 14 points. I could boldly say, yeah, I think Georgia could win the game. They should win the game. But if you're going to just put me against the wall, I'll take the 14 points in Florida.
Are you sure it's not Josh Bowers?
Huh?
Are you
Brock
sure it's
Bowers.
not Josh Bowers?
I know, right? I love these Joshes. Get out of here.
No, I'm with you. As far as Alabama, Georgia, Alabama too. They haven't really been dominating, right?
Yeah.
They've looked susceptible, vulnerable at certain times in games. Even a couple games looked like they could actually lose. So if that rivalry is what it is, the Gators might be a live dog.
Yeah.
But I think I'd be more interested in the halftime spread than the final spread because Georgia's defense is tough and they could pull away at the end.
See, Georgia's defense, the reason why they're tough for college football standards right now, but based on what Georgia was winning 1 and 2 national championships, when we saw just over the last 2 seasons, losing 25 players to the NFL draft, the majority of them on that defensive side of the ball. We saw 2022 when they lost 15 players from that team, 5 of them going in the first round, all defensive players, including the number 1 pick overall, Trayvon Walker, who's here in Jacksonville. That defense, you can't expect that defense to continue. On the other hand, Alabama has a better defense. They've struggled offensively. Defensively, Bama's easily one of the best teams in the country if you just watch their defense. That defense is something serious because they have to be, and they have the talent to be. It's their offense that's a problem. You have Jalen Monroe as your quarterback, and that's an issue. If those other two couldn't beat him, they don't deserve to be mentioned because he's that bad. But I'm just thinking now that it comes to this Georgia game playing against Florida, man, I'll take Florida and the points. But if you just wanted to take the money line, you might still go with Georgia, but have a few nails available to chew on while you're watching that game, getting nervous.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, I think the rivalry effect will have more impact early
Yeah.
and not so much in the second half. So that's why I'm saying I'd be interested in seeing what the spread is for the first half,
Oh, okay.
maybe not 14 for the second half, because
Probably
eventually
half.
the cream rises to the top, unless they just have just an awful day, a pick six here or a strip sack there, then anybody can lose.
Yeah, I've seen some of those games. I've actually covered some of those games as well, and you just see the anticipation and the in the air. You have that tension in the air. You have over 100,000 people who come to Jacksonville, period, for that game alone. They're already at RV City, I believe, since Tuesday here in Jacksonville. They'll be here until if Georgia wins, they'll stay an extra day. If Georgia loses, they're leaving on Saturday night. That's how it goes. The game's at 3:30, and this place is hopping. I'm going down there tomorrow just to see the drunk people. I mean, hey, that's what it is now. I'll just go down there tomorrow, just get the stadium's right down the way from me. So I'll just go down there just to look at the vibe and see who's drunkest and probably pick a winner based off that. But in any event, man, I would be worried if I'm a Georgia fan. I just can't take it for granted that the Gators aren't that good. They are a 4-2 team, but no one's really great anymore right now in college football. Only Michigan, in my opinion, and Ohio State and Alabama's defense is showing that they're doing something special out there now. But there's still so much more to go. But man, that's a game I'm looking at, and since it's here in Jacksonville, I guess you talk about it. And now we get to talk about someone we hadn't talked about in 2 weeks because he was off. Coach Prime is back going on the road against UCLA, and they're a 17.5-point underdog as well, and rightfully so. And it may be even worse after blowing that 29-point lead.
Yeah, things been quiet on the Colorado side
Mm-hmm.
for a little bit, right? I think the national media is not as enamored with Coach Prime and with Colorado since they've lost a couple of games.
Yep.
Um, that's unfortunate. I mean, Coach Prime has still got his thing he's doing, and he's got a plan for his squad. 17 is a big number, but we'll see. I mean, Oregon was able to handle them, but UCLA is not Oregon.
Now, UCLA is in Oregon, but I'm wondering now the psyche of this team. Travis Hunter still had a pretty good game of his own, and they still lost it where they did, blowing the big lead they had at home. Now they're going to UCLA, and I like to say a lot of these California teams, do they really have a home court advantage or home field advantage, depending on the sport? Their fans are not typically those people that are rabid, unless they're a bandwagons type of fan, like the Laker fans, or you have some USC fans when Reggie Bush was there. But, that fan base in UCLA or anywhere in California doesn't necessarily show me that, it's rabid like here in the SEC or some of the bigger stadiums up, Penn State or Ohio State or even Michigan. Michigan's more of a big mausoleum, but Ohio State, those real rabid fans. But anyways, yeah, Coach Prime, man. And you know what? They did ask him his opinion on what's going on with Coach Harbaugh and ask him, does he have a problem with sign stealing? He pretty much ado about nothing. And it could be, but I think he's looking out for a fellow coach. I mean, because there's something to be said. You wouldn't do it if it didn't matter.
That's true. I mean, like I said, I just view it as scouting. But if it's a rule and they had a travel budget, then obviously they're doing it on purpose.
Scout the players, not the sidelines looking at signals. Those aren't the players. Unless the players are giving the signals. And finally, for college football, only because of our own self-interest, Miami's taking on Virginia. They're going on the road to take on a Virginia team that just upset the hell out of a North Carolina team that beat Miami just 2 weeks ago. So is this a problem? I don't think it should be a problem because
Better not be.
Virginia is that bad, but Miami's disappointed me before, Georgia Tech. And so let's see what happens. They're going on the road to play against this Virginia team. They haven't had the problems that they've had in the past with North Carolina, as I've already stated, way in the past, and even the Georgia Tech game, where Miami's had problems in the past with Georgia Tech. It was kind of hit or miss with them. The same way they had problems with East Carolina years ago when Clinton Portis was there as a sophomore. But anyways, Miami's taking on Virginia. They're favored on the road, and let's see. Tyler Van Dyke is back. So Emory Williams is going to sit it out. That should help. I hope it does. He still hasn't had that performance against a top team that's going to make me say, okay, this guy's the top NFL pick or even a second rounder for that matter. I still look at him as a third rounder, and it could get worse depending on the injuries and the performance at the combine. And then we head to the World Series. It's finally set. Baseball, not over. Meaningful October baseball shifting into November baseball, but no turkeys allowed. The Rangers taking on the Diamondbacks. Man, I thought it would be a better series aesthetically if the Rangers did play against
Philly.
Philly,
Philly.
because they have a lot of firepower. You
Yeah.
have brand names. It's not even about the market, just that the better team. But then the storyline of the Diamondbacks is what I like most, the underdog. And going into this game, I love that underdog appeal, but I still got to go with the Rangers in this game, in the series.
Yeah, I got to go with the Rangers also, especially in game one. They have, to me, a decided advantage in pitchers.
Oh,
They got
absolutely.
they got Evaldi going
Mhm.
on the game one. I believe he's 4-0 with a 2.4 something ERA this postseason.
2 walks. Girl, he's acing it
Yeah,
right now.
and he's been there before with Boston. Whereas
Yep.
Gallen for the D-backs, I think he's given up 24 hits, 9 walks, and 13 runs in 22 and a third innings this postseason. That's not very good.
Nah,
And
nope.
going against a potent and hot Rangers offense, they might put up a bunch of runs tomorrow.
And Evaldi might not even need those runs. And he's one of those guys that we talked about before that if you get that hot pitcher, that you can put him out 3 times in a 7-game series, that's going to be the decider. The numbers he's been putting up and the way he's been going about it, not even really effortlessly, pretty much just putting players out. He may be that guy you can put out there if it comes down to an all hands on deck scenario, game 7, to where you throw him out there even on short rest and still get something out of him that's going to be
Right.
effective.
Yeah, I mean, if it does go to game 7, he's able to go. Maybe if he can give you 3 or 4 and the Rangers score a couple of runs, yeah, well, he did his job.
Yep, and I think he's going to do his job. But man, I like that Diamondback story, man. I'm not going to be mad at either team that wins. I usually go for the AL anytime in all World Series, unless it's the Mets, and I'll just kind of go with little brother, the JV, because they are the JV compared to the Yankees. But outside of that, yeah, man, or not the Astros, by the way, either. But I'll go, with the Texas Rangers, and I just hope it's a good series. I'll actually watch the World Series this time because when the Yankees aren't involved, I don't seem to have much of an interest. So I haven't had an interest in a long time. But
I've always been an American League guy,
exactly,
so
AL.
I'll be going for the Rangers. But sometimes, I think I'm going for a team. I start watching, and I just start going for the other team for some reason. I have no dog in the fight, so I just
Same
want
here.
to I just want to see good games.
And I think we're going to see some good games, man. This Diamondbacks team really showed that they do deserve to be where they are. You really have to go through the grinder coming through what they've come through in order to get to this point. And I know the Phillies fans and even the Phillies players are complaining about how they let the people down. I don't know. Maybe it came to a point where the better team did come into your house and win, and they did exactly that. You're not what the Astros were, a team that was under 500 at home, and so it wasn't necessarily expected, but it wasn't surprising when it happened. So now you're on that end of
So
it.
what are Philly fans saying?
Philly fans, no, it's the Philly players are saying they let the fans
Oh,
down.
okay,
Yeah, they let
never
the
mind.
fans down. I mean, this is what you could expect. Kyle Schwarber, I let the team down. Bryce Harper, I let the team down. I don't know. These guys played their asses off for as much as they could. You do have other teammates that need to show up who are getting paid on the payroll to do their job as well. You two guys
Yeah,
are the guys that lead the team, and
I
we've seen
mean,
enough of that.
you can tip your hat to them for taking responsibility.
Yeah.
I mean, Harper did come up with 2 men on base the other night and didn't come through. So um,
Sometimes it's just not
I
going to
can't
go your way,
I
man.
can't say he lost the game, but
You
um,
didn't win it either.
he didn't come through when they needed it. So,
But we'll have enough to
but he
talk.
wasn't the only one either.
Yeah,
So
exactly. And that's the truth. You have other teammates out there that need to show up. Isn't that part of a great team? And in fact, the Diamondbacks are showing you that, everybody's kind of people you don't even know about if you're not even following Diamondbacks baseball. They're lending a hand and they're winning these games or participating and being a part of the wins, not just, needing this big name. I keep on saying, I wish that Goldschmidt was still there. He's not. Yeah, but hey, they're winning without him, and they may even win a World Series. But I think the Texas Rangers they are going to win this World Series. And by the time we come back on Monday, this Thursday night game obviously will be done. Baseball, the World Series will have a couple of games played, more NBA, and maybe some more storylines to add Maybe the James Harden factor might show up to where we can talk about on Monday as well. Anything you looking forward to this weekend?
Not just the usual. My teams. Nebraska plays Purdue. Um, Bears playing a night game against San Diego. We'll see. Sometimes there are quality games on during the day. I'll tune into those, but other than that, I'm not looking for anything specifically. I always keep an eye on Florida State and Miami for
Yeah.
personal reasons this season. But
Selfish reasons this season, exactly. And hey, you know what? I'm just hoping Miami doesn't let me down on the road. I mean, God, it's happened before. I think they have the team to do it because this is a different team, as I said in the beginning of the season when they played Texas A&M, and even just watching them before that, Miami of Ohio is not going to give you that gauge, but I just saw there was a different aura about this team playing against lesser teams than it was even last year when they were blowing teams out like Bethune-Cookman by damn near 60 points or more. And it was just a different looking team this year than it was even back then. Miami shouldn't have the problems, especially if Tyler Van Dyke is back. And defensively, Ruben Bain, now an absolute monster, continue doing what he's doing, pack up that skill set and defense, bring it on the road, bring it up to Charlottesville, and just win that game.
oh yeah, I do want to say I'm going to watch Damian Lillard's debut with the Bucks tonight. So
So yeah,
I'll have, I
okay.
have this. I have the split screen Bucks and the Thursday night game probably.
So, okay, with that said, this is going into our weekend. As you may or may not know, we're here Monday through Thursday. At least we try our best to do Monday through Thursday, unless something happens in between. But this is
Yeah,
our
if you're
weekend.
still watching, you don't want to watch us, listen on Spotify.
Yes,
Not
Spotify is there for you.
Spotifcast, like I said before. Spotify,
That's it. Hit the
Apple
Spotify,
Podcasts, Google Podcasts, all them platforms.
all
Find
the
us.
platforms. We're there. We have a
Join
lot
us
of,
on our Facebook page, Sports Bag Bros.
yeah, you can come into the Facebook page for sure. And of course, some people found their way to our YouTube channel to where they're seeing this and they're leaving the comments for a change. Not all of the happy comments, but a lot of them at least. People agreeing with us, disagree. We don't mind if you agree or disagree. Just back up what the heck you're saying without trying to be condescending, because if you try to be condescending, it gets messy and it doesn't work out for you most times. Anyway, he's biased. I'm Trav. We'll be back on Monday with the Sports Back Bros podcast. Deuces.
Peace.